Welcome to another episode of Talkin Hoops. Again, Michael McCleary is gone, so you're stuck with me to preview the Girls State basketball tournaments. We're going to get to all three of those in just a little bit. First of all, congratulations to all the boys teams that qualified for state after the SODAC 16 on Tuesday night, and last Saturday for the boys in AA. And we'll get to those guys next week, but this week it's about the girls and the girls basketball tournaments. We'll start in AA, where it'll be held at the Sanford Pentagon. Last time it was held there was a couple of years ago. The A's will be held in Watertown and the B's in Huron. So get ready for 3 days of exciting basketball. And just to kind of let you know how this episode's going to go, we're going to preview it a little differently than I have in the past. We're going to give you some thoughts to chew on in each one of the tournaments. One of those is a new name, somebody who's made the tournament for the first time, a name that you need to know in each class. We'll get to that. The best players in the tournament. We'll talk about the best players in each class. The most interesting quarterfinal matchup. Not necessarily the best one, but the most interesting, and we'll give you a couple reasons why you need to tune into those games. We'll also talk about the team's best defense. We talk about offense a lot. Let's talk a little bit about defense. And then we're going to talk about the team that's playing with house money. This is a team that really has overachieved to this point, got to the state tournament, and everything else, you know what? It's all gravy if they win it from here on out. So we'll talk about that for each team. And then I'm also going to make my predictions, and just a heads up, don't take it personally. I usually get my predictions wrong, and I'll give you a little teaser. I did not pick any number one seeds to go all the way. And again, if you're a number one seed, that should be good news for you. As we get into these predictions, we will reveal why I think certain things will happen, and they probably won't. But let's get started in girls AA action. And as I promised, we're going to talk about a new name you need to know. Pierre has not made the state tournament since 2017. You need to know Remy Price. She scored her 1,000th point this year and is fourth on the all-time scoring list in Pierre history. She set the career three-point record in Pierre. She's at 198 for her career and has made over 50% from three. I know I made a graphic that said she was just under 50% from three, but that did not include her SODAC 16 game, which put her over 50% on the season from 3 points. She just needs three more to tie the single season record in that category, so watch for her to make three more three-pointers here in these next 3 days. She's been playing since she was an 8th grader and really has been the face of this program, and they've seen progression every single year, and in large part to what Remy has brought to the table. They went from 4 wins to 7 wins to 8 wins to 10 wins to 18 wins this year. She is definitely somebody you got to know. I mean, this is a Pierre team that has a lot of stars, but she is one that really has made this engine go. She had 27 points in her SODAC 16 win with 5 three-pointers, so make sure you know Remy Price. Let's talk about the best players in the tournament. So many great players in the AA tournament. Let's get started with some of those players that love to score the ball. Talia Porter, just a sophomore with Stevens, has absolutely shown what she can do. And of course, Stevens, a team that's made the state finals 2 seasons in a row, and now it's her team, and we'll see if maybe she can cause some havoc and help Stevens get back to that platform on Saturday night. Molly Abdush, a junior from O'Gorman, headed to South Dakota State in a couple years. She has averaged 17 points a game this year, but she's also the leader in anyone in this tournament in assists per game with 4.4. Abdush has had a terrific season, a little bit over 3 steals per game. She's money from three-point land. She's been hitting over 35% of her threes as well, so watch out for Molly Abdush. Brooklyn Harp, I think she's been maybe the most consistent player in AA this year. She, as a senior, has led Washington to that number 1 seed. She's done it with scoring. She's done it with rebounding. She's done it with defense. And she can absolutely go off on any game this week. And her sister Hannah Harp, also an outstanding player. She is been awesome rebounding with 5.8 rebounds per game and 4.3 assists per game. So the twin sisters getting it done. Hannah Harp dishing, Brooklyn Harp putting in the points. How about Sawyer Stabner from Mitchell? This is another player probably didn't talk enough about this year, but she has been lights out and really led this Mitchell team to where they are in the state tournament. Huge year for her. She averages a double-double, the third leading scorer in this tournament, the leading rebounder in this tournament. But to average a double-double in AA basketball, you're doing something right. Good job for Sawyer Stabner. And how about Jaden Dunn? There's a couple players we could talk about on this Jefferson Cavalier team, but Jaden Dunn, the future SDSU Jackrabbit, has had an outstanding junior season. She's really evolved. Her scoring has just been steady, right about 10 points a game, but her rebounding, her blocks, her defense has been outstanding, and that's been one of the reasons that teams have trouble scoring against Jefferson. She is such a good rim protector, and they've got, like I said, a lot of energy on the outside with a lot of other players in McGovern and Watkins, but Jaden Dunn is one player that not many teams in this state have, is an absolutely great rim protector, and Jaden Dunn will be definitely one to watch as far as we go there. Let's move to our quarterfinal game to watch. Now, there's always great games up and down, and we'll probably be surprised just like we were last year. But speaking of last year, Washington lost in their quarterfinal matchup as the number 1 seed. This year they come in as the number 1 seed, and they play a very interesting Watertown team. I think this is the most interesting game of the quarterfinals. Washington won 49-36 back on February 3rd, but this Watertown team has now won 5 of their last 6. They took Jefferson to overtime here recently in the last couple of weeks. I know last year Washington lost that 1 versus 8 matchup, so I feel like there might be a little trepidation, a little chip on their shoulder maybe, but Watertown is one of those teams it's really hard to beat, and I think they're going to bring some energy. They're playing with nothing, no pressure whatsoever on them. So I think this Washington-Watertown game could be a lot better than people think. All right, we're going to talk about the top defense in the class. And really, for my money, it's been O'Gorman. They gave up just 38 points per game this year. They've always been known for what they do on the defensive side. A lot of great ball defenders. They put the pressure on from time to time. You never know when Kent Colesrud's going to go with that pressure, but when he does, it is effective. And they get 5 blocks per game. 5 blocks per game is huge, especially in girls basketball, when you have a couple of players on the inside who can not only affect shots, but actually deflect shots. And that's what they have in Kira Mentally and Karsten Schlimgen, 2 players who have absolutely rerouted some shots on the way to the hoop. Molly Abdush, 3.3 steals per game, leads that perimeter defense and that ball defense, and really makes things go defensively as well as they do on offense. They've done a really good job of just buying into their roles defensively, and this O'Gorman team is definitely one that likes to turn it up a notch on the defensive side. Let's talk about our house money team. It's got to be Mitchell, right? Mitchell's the only team that got an upset in the SODAC 16. They found a way, after losing the last regular season game of the year to Brandon, to come back and beat them in the SODAC 16. And, they lost 6 in a row before they actually won that game against Brandon. They shot the ball extremely well. Sawyer Stabner did a great job. And one of the more fun things in this tournament you'll see is the Colonel Jacks. Their head coach Dave Brooks told me they do Colonel Jacks, which are jumping jacks, spelling out Colonels, every time they win, and they win a long stretch, like I said, without doing those Colonel Jacks. And he doesn't know if they're going to get a chance to do another set of Colonel Jacks over these next 3 days, because they're definitely not picked to do much because they came in as the lowest seed. But if they get a win anytime in this tournament, you can hear from that locker room there's going to be some KERNELS jumping jacks going on. Time to get to my predictions. First round, I think Sioux Falls, Washington's going to get by Watertown. I think it will be a close game. I think Jefferson's going to get it done as well in the first round, just like they did last year. Pierre is going to have a tough time, but I think Pierre is going to find a way to get that win in the first round and get their feet under them and comfortable. And then I think O'Gorman-Harrisburg could be an excellent matchup. I think this O'Gorman team presents a lot of problems defensively. Harrisburg the same way. They play really good defense. They spread it out on offense. If Harrisburg's hitting their shots, there's no reason they couldn't get an upset right away off the bat against these defending champs, Lady Knights. But I'm going to go with the favorites in all 4 of those quarterfinal matchups. In semifinal night on Friday, I think it's going to be Washington to avenge last year's disappointment in the first round, and they'll come out and get 2 wins in a row. They're going to find a way to beat Jefferson. They've split on the season so far. And then I think O'Gorman is going to find a way to take out Pierre. And they lost to Pierre earlier this year. It was a signature win for these Govs. But I think O'Gorman has what it takes, especially on a second night in a row. I think they can bring enough energy to get by Pierre. And that sets up an O'Gorman-Washington final. These are the top 2 teams I had going into the season. And my top team going into the season was O'Gorman. They obviously took a little time to ramp up to get to that number 1 spot. But I think they will end the season with that number 1 spot. I think they're going to secure their 2nd title in a row, coming in as the number 3 seed and finding a way to get it done. Let's move on to Girls A. This tournament in Watertown, of course, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. And this one didn't shape up exactly like we thought it would. There were some really strong teams that got eliminated on their way to Watertown. Vermilion, the number 2 team in the polls, got beat before they even made it to the Sodak 16 by T, and then T lost to Wagner in the Sodak 16. So 2 very strong teams that didn't get to state. You got Florence Henry, didn't make it to state. You got St. Thomas More, the defending champs, didn't make it to state. So with all those teams eliminated, all those strong teams that were in the rankings all season long, what's left? Well, I'll tell you what's left. There's a lot of good teams left, including the only undefeated team in girls basketball, the Hamlin Chargers. We'll get to them a little later, but let's start with a name you need to know, a new face you need to know. That's Olivia Kiefer. Olivia Kiefer has been balling for Rapid City Christian, not just this year, but for the last 5 years. Since she was an 8th grader, she's been on this varsity team as a starter. She's a USD basketball commit. She's averaged over 20 points every single season since her 8th grade season and has had an absolutely dream season here in her senior year, and for the first time led Rapid City Christian to the state tournament. She has over 2,000 points in her basketball career and over 2,000 kills in her volleyball career. I'm not sure if that's ever been done before, but congratulations to Olivia Kiefer, one of the finest players, and congratulations on making the state tournament in your senior season. Let's talk about the top players in the tournament. We already mentioned Olivia Kiefer, but let's talk about Cammie Wadsworth. Cameron Wadsworth, a high percentage shooter on the inside, got her team, Hamlin, to the finals last year. This year led her team to an undefeated season. It's more than just Cammie, but when Cammie gets the ball, she is a double-double. She is really good from the mid-range, better than most think on defense, and she is one of the players that can really take it to the rim. And when she's open, she can hit a 3 as well, so that opens things up for her on the inside. Claire Shepard, the SDSU verbal, playing for Flandreau, and has led this Flandreau team especially over the last second half of the season. They have been unbelievable with a couple of upsets, getting to the state tournament, coming in as the 8th seed. But when you have a player like Claire Shepard who's averaging 16 points per game, I mean, she can take over games, and she is also a shot deflector, shot rerouter when you get to the rim. So can play really good defense, has also averaged 16 points a game. Just one of those rare players in this field. Let's talk about Ashlyn Kopel. Ashlyn Kopel, 6'2" freshman from Wagner, was a starter last year as an 8th grader, made it to the state tournament. She has improved significantly, and that's saying a lot because she was really good last year. But let's talk about Ashlyn Kopel. She's hitting 66% of her field goals this year, over 50% from 3, 21 points per game, 7 boards a game, almost 3 assists per game. This is a player who blocks over 2 shots per game on the defensive side and then contributes the way she does on offense. This is a player who could dominate a tournament like this. She can get on a roll. She's tough to defend because she can play several positions. She can handle the ball if she needs to at 6'2". I am guaranteeing college scouts are drooling over the prospect of getting a player like Ashlyn Copel with these kind of skills in that kind of frame. Definitely worth watching the State 8 tournament just to watch Ashlyn Copel. And her teammate Emma Yost probably gets overshadowed a little bit too much. Just as, a senior who's, averaging a double-double, 15 points a game, 10 rebounds a game, and almost 4 assists per game. So this is another player on the Wagner team. In fact, you can go up and down the Wagner roster and find impact players. They share the ball so dang well. But those two are definitely worth the price of admission. Ellie Lems of Sioux Falls Christian. Defense is absolutely focused on Ellie. She averages 16.5 points per game, 6 rebounds a game, but she means so much in getting her teammates open as well because she takes so much of the defense's attention that her teammates get wide open looks, and frankly, they've been burying them. So Sioux Falls Christian has been really good, but it's because of what Ellie Lems has brought to the court. And Krista Langiger from Sisseton, another player we probably don't talk about enough. In fact, Sisseton, just 2 losses on the season. Got a lot of star power at the top of their roster with Krista and Chloe, 2 6-footers on the inside, and then another great player in Hannah Lieberson. So watch out for them. But particularly I want to talk about Krista, who's hitting 63% from the field. She takes nothing but good shots, averages 16 points per game, 9 rebounds per game. She's not going to wow you with her highlight tape, but she is going to wow you at the end of the game because she's helped her team get the W. So the Langagers, I hope I'm saying that right, are definitely players to watch on Sisseton, and they've quietly had a great season. The most interesting quarterfinal matchup, I think it's got to be Red Cloud and Lakota Tech. These two teams, in the short time Lakota Tech has been around, have been instant rivals, and this will be their 3rd meeting of the season. Red Cloud won the first 2. They won the LNI against Lakota Tech. They won later in the season against Lakota Tech, and this will be the 3rd time that they've played. And last year they played 3 times as well. They played in the state tournament on the consolation bracket. They played twice during the regular season, and last year Red Cloud won twice, lost once. I think this year maybe the same thing. These are 2 teams that have a lot of talent. Red Cloud loves to play up to 10 or 11 players on their team, and you're going to see them absolutely pressure the basketball. Lakota Tech also plays that way. Maybe not quite as deep, though. But one of the more interesting things about this game, the 2 scorers in this game, the sophomore Jodine Hunter and the freshman Ashlyn Blunt, 2 underclassmen that lead their teams in scoring. So I think those 2, for the next couple of seasons, we could see go back and forth and really make this rivalry even bigger than it is right now. But that'll be a really fun one, the 4-5 matchup in Class A. Let's talk about the top defense in the class. The Hamlin Chargers, giving up 31.4 points per game, and they've played a stacked field this year. They hold 3-point shooting to 23%. They hold field goal percentage to 31.7%. This is a team that goes after the ball defenders. Marissa Bowden has done a great job this year. Brooklyn Brandwright leads the team in steals. They force 15 turnovers per game. Addison Neuendorf, another one on the point, who plays great ball pressure and continues to evolve as one of the top point guards in this class. Hamlin is great at each position. They're not super deep, but they're in shape. These guys get after it all game long and have only given up 31 points per game. The team that's playing with house money? How about Flandreau? They get out to a 4-4 start. They lost to Hamlin right away early in this season, 58-45. They get a rematch against Hamlin. What happened the last time they got a rematch? Well, they played St. Thomas More, and that 4th loss of the season was to St. Thomas More, and they avenged that in the playoffs. So can they do that to Hamlin? I think they're going to give them a game. I think Hamlin looked across and saw Flandreau, and there's going to be complete respect in that first-round matchup because these 2 teams they could really go toe-to-toe, and they've evolved. They've both evolved since that first meeting this year when Hamlin got them by 13. But this Flanders team has really improved. And head coach Megan Sievertson said, after that loss to St. Thomas More in the middle of the season, we took a hard look at ourselves. We made some adjustments, and we have been on fire since then. She didn't say that, but I'm saying that. They've been on fire since then, so watch out for Flanders. Speaking of those first-round matchups, that Hamlin-Flanders matchup is going to be outstanding. I think Hamlin will get it done in the first round. Lakota Tech taking on Red Cloud, and I know Red Cloud's got them twice this year, but I have a feeling Lakota Tech is going to find a way to get this thing done. They both played Rapid City Christian this year as a common opponent, and Lakota Tech beat Rapid City Christian. Red Cloud did not. Not saying that's going to be the key to the game, but just saying Lakota Tech has the potential to get this thing done. Wagner in the first round, they're going to have a tough match, and they play Rapid City Christian, but I think they have enough to outlast Rapid City Christian. And in the last one, we've got Sioux Falls Christian taking on Sisseton, and two teams that have just 2 losses on the year. The Sisseton team doesn't have a ton of quality wins, but they have really played closely with the quality opponents they've played with in those 2 losses. They've played once before this year, and Sioux Falls Christian got them back in the DAC-12 NEC clash in Madison earlier this season. I think Sioux Falls Christian gets it done once again. We go on to semifinal night, and I just think this Wagner team is locked and loaded. They're going to find a way to get to Saturday night, and Hamlin hasn't lost all season. I don't know why they would lose in the semifinals to Lakota Tech. And we're going to have a little Hamlin-Wagner battle for the championship. And when it comes down to it in the end, I think this Wagner team, when they play at their best, they have the 1 loss on the season to Vermilion. But when they're at their best, I don't think anybody can play with them in the state. And I think Wagner is really loaded because last season they know what it was like to get upset in the state tournament. And with that experience, Hamlin does too. They know what it's like to lose last year in the finals, but I think it's going to be Wagner pulling it out with the trophy on Saturday night. Let's take a look at the Class B bracket. And our defending state champs, Viborg Hurley, came in as the 8th seed last year and won 3 games in a row. It was a little deceiving because they only had the 1 loss in class last year, but definitely a surprise for people. Could we have the same type of scenario this year? There's a lot of good teams in this field. A lot of teams that, when they play their best, could beat anybody else in the class. So I think we've got a really solid 8 teams in this field. I think the Sodak 16 did its job. We've got a very fun tournament lined up. Any one of these games could go either way, I'm telling you. And just get ready. All right, let's talk about a new name you need to know, somebody who's made the state tournament for the first time. It's Leah Williams out of Woolsey-Wessington. Woolsey-Wessington, since they have merged, has never made a state tournament. This year they come in as the number 1 seed, and Leah Williams was the leading scorer on this team and welcomed in Mallory Miller, who came over from Aberdeen Christian. Even though she was the top player coming in, she was happy to get Miller to join the team. And all of a sudden, they've got 3 stars on this team, but Leah Williams averaging about 18 points a game, about 7 boards, 5 assists, 2 or 3 steals, and is a really good shooter from the field. She always is willing to find a way to make this team better, and she has done that this year on the offense and on defense. She usually draws the other team's best athlete and has multiple offers to play in college basketball. She's got a couple family members who have played big-time college football before, and I think she has earned her name, Sniper Williams, as one of the most electric shooters in this class. So watch out for Leah Williams for Woolsey-Wessington. Let's talk about the top players, and I started making this list and I couldn't stop. Pretty much every single team, their top 2 weapons, and in Woolsey-Wessington's case, their top 3 weapons, are outstanding and could take over a game. So we're going to mention them all. Let's start with those Woolsey-Wessington players. Mallory Miller came over from Aberdeen Christian, scoring at 17, 18 points a game, has done an excellent job on the inside, at 6'4", deflecting shots left and right. She can hit it from the three if she's open. And then her teammates, Leah Williams, who we just talked about, and Maya Boomsma, another player who can, go off and lead the team in scoring on any given night. So 3 real stars on this Wellesley Wessington team. Let's talk about Jones County, the team they're going to play against. Mallory Valberg, maybe the only 17-10 player you haven't heard of in the state. She has been awesome this season, and at 6 foot can defend very well. She can defend not only her size, but other sizes that come up against her. And then Jaden Jensen, who was their leading scorer last year, has had another outstanding season, averaging over 15 points a game. Let's talk about Viborg Hurley, the defending champs, and what they bring to the court. Pretty much everything they brought to the court last year, they're bringing to the court this year. They had a couple injuries throughout the season. They feel like, knock on wood, that they've gotten those figured out, and some of the players like Danae Mock, who have had to play through some ankle injuries this year, is ready to go for the state tournament. And speaking of Danae Mock and Coral Mason have both had outstanding years where they've shown that they can score the ball, they've shown they can play defense, and either one of them can go off as the team leader on any given night. How about Wall? Paige Kierstad and Nora Dinger. This is our 2 young players, 2 underclassmen who have absolutely stepped up this year. And Nora Dinger is a player who can shoot from the outside. She played with her sisters last year. This year, she's on her own, but she is hitting 32% from three-point land, averaging 13.6 points per game. And then Paige Kierstad averaging a double-double, 18 points, 12 rebounds a game, hitting over 50% from the field. This is a difference maker. She could really make a difference for Wall, who's had a really tough schedule. They play a lot of Class A teams, so they get into this B tournament. Who knows? Maybe they could pull off what Viborg Hurley did last year. Sully Buttes, a really fun team to watch. They've had some really great teams over the years, and Mark Sefner passed away, but it passed on that tradition of excellence to the team that's playing right now, and they earn a spot in the state tournament. They've got a player named Lydia Hill leading the way, 16 points, 10 boards a game, hitting over 50% from the field. But Stevie Whitler and Allison Whitler, 2 players I feel could be excellent supporting casts. In fact, Stevie Whitler's absolutely went off a couple times this year, won a Midco Sports Game Ball this week for her stretch of games that she had in the middle of the season. So this is a Sully Buttes team definitely with some star power. Ethan has some star power. Ava Lingeman, the leading scorer in this tournament. She can light it up from the outside. She can do almost as much damage on defense as she can on offense, but 19 points a game. And then Marissa Storm, the youngster. A lot of underclassmen on this Ethan team, and she has stepped up big time to be a number 2 threat for Ethan. How about Castlewood? Mackenzie Everson and Madeline Horn. These 2 players can do a little bit of everything. They're, again, interchangeable. All these teams have 2 players that are kind of interchangeable at the top, and they have been absolutely fun to watch this year. Everson, 16 points a game. Madeline Horn, 15.6, so they're pretty much one of the 2 of them is going to lead the team in scoring on almost every given night. Both right around 7 rebounds a game, both around 3 assists per game, and both are getting a block about every other game as well. So Horn and Everson, 2 players, really fun to watch on Castlewood. And we have to talk about Howard as well. Abby Asleason and Kate Connor. How about these 2? Asleason, 10 rebounds a game to go with her 16 points, and Connor 15 points, 7 rebounds a game, and has been a huge inside threat as a great post player, hitting over 50% from the field. So 2 not only offensive powers, but again, defensively, these 2 are pushing out the defense, absolutely owning the paint on a nightly basis. So watch out for Asleason and Connor. They do a great job of interior defense, and they're making their shots around the rim. So tons of great players to watch in this tournament. The most interesting quarterfinal matchup, it's got to be Wall against Sully Buttes, right? These 2 teams, that 4-5 matchup, have really, I think, both overachieved coming into the year. Wall made it to the state tournament last year, lost some key seniors, but have taken some young players and done some real damage this year. Sully Buttes, same thing. They've got a senior leader in Lydia Hill, but a lot of young players who will come back next year, including Stevie Whitler, to really build something for these Chargers. Both these teams had common opponents, Warner, Jones County, and Lyman. So what can we learn off of those? Well, against Lyman, they both got it done by right around double digits. Against Jones County, they both got a 3-point win. And against Warner, who Wall just played Warner last week, Sully Buttes got him by 4. Wall got him by 10. So really, they both play very similar in the games that they have common opponents, and not always can you take these common opponent things and really learn or get some information off of them. But this year, I think you really can. It's going to be a close game. That's what I'm saying. These two teams are very evenly matched, and Wall and Sully Buttes will be one heck of a first-round matchup. Top defense, well, as far as points per game against, it's Jones County. The 8 seed comes in, and they've found a way to just stifle teams defensively, giving up just 32.5 points per game. They've only allowed 50 points once this year. Guess who that was to? It was to Wolsey Wessington, the team that they're playing in the first round. And they gave them a lot of trouble in the first 3 quarters. The fourth quarter, Wolsey found a way to get it done. But this is a team that really can lock down on the defensive side. They get 32 rebounds a game, almost 11 steals per game. And we talked about Mallory Valberg as just one of these players who can shut players down. She'll have her hands full with the 6'4" Mallory Miller in the middle. But the Mallory matchup should be a lot of fun. We'll see if Valberg can lead her team defensively against one of the best offensive teams in the class. House money. Who's playing with house money? I think it's Ethan. This team really wasn't supposed to be here. I mean, coming into the year, I think a lot of people thought you've got 5 undersized underclassmen on the court, and they started the year out with hardly any expectations, and they really overachieved, and all the way up to a number 2 seed in this tournament. Props to Ethan. I mean, anything they do from here on out, including winning this first round game, would be huge for them, because playing Castlewood's going to be no piece of cake, that's for sure. So just for them to make the state tournament, to get a 2 seed, to beat Corsica Stickney, who was on fire last week in the Sodak 16, give this Ethan Rustler team a lot of credit. And Tom Young, since he's taken over, has done an outstanding job for the Rustlers, and I think anything they do from here on out, I mean, again, put some frosting on it. My predictions for the first round here. I think Wolsey Wessington gets it done against Jones County. I think the Sully Buttes Wall game will be the best game of the first round, but I guess I'm taking Wall in this one, in one of the very few upsets I'm taking in the quarterfinals. Ethan takes on Castlewood. I think this game could go either way, but just by what I've seen from Ethan and their shooting on the outside, I think they have enough defense to neutralize the 2 players on Castlewood, and the Rustlers get on. And then Viborg Hurley and Howard, they played earlier this season. Howard gave them a real struggle, especially in the first half of this game. Viborg Hurley finally found a way to put it into gear, and I think now with the health of their team, if nobody gets hurt, this Viborg Hurley team will take care of Howard. In the semis, I think it's Wolsey Wessington once again finding a way to get past Wall. I think that will be an extremely close game. But Wall maybe doesn't have the same type of defense, just matchup-wise, to take care of Wolsey Wessington and all those athletes. And Viborg Hurley, as they take on Ethan, I think they'll just have too many athletes again, and the 2 best teams will rise to the top on Saturday, and that's going to be Viborg Hurley and Wolsey Wessington. And again, they played back on January 14th in the Hanson Classic. Wolsey played right with them, came out at halftime, we're still in the game, and then Danae Mock went off and helped Viborg Hurley extend that lead, and at that point the Warbirds just couldn't get it done, and I think it'll be different this time. That was in the Corn Palace, the first big stage of the year for Wolsey Wessington. I think there's going to be a close game coming all the way down to it. I think it's going to help Wolsey Wessington that they're playing in Huron, just outside of Wolsey Wessington. We're going to have a good home crowd, but in the end, I think this Viborg Hurley team is just going to find a way to get it done and take their back-to-back titles, but it will be a very, very close game. And again, take solace in the fact that I'm almost always wrong. That's a look at the girls' state tournaments. It's going to be a lot of fun. If you see me out at the state tournaments, I'm going to try to bounce around a little bit depending on the weather and get to a couple of them, if not all three of them, in the 3 different days. But if you see me, make sure to stop and say hi. And next week, tune in to Talkin Hoops. We're going to talk boys state basketball and all three of those classes and take a look at some predictions sure to go wrong as well. We'll see you next week.